Welcome everyone to today's inspirational talk. I hope you're having a fantastic beginning of this new year and your goals are being met. I would like to share an astonishing fact that I just came upon. Researchers state that 50% of adults in United States keep New Year's resolutions, but fewer than 10% actually keep them for more than a few months. Let's pause. 50% of adults in the US don't even bother keeping a New Year's resolution. Maybe because they feel that they won't be able to attain it. And the 50% that do try to keep this New Year's resolution, a very small amount actually make it to just a couple of months. So I think we all just need a little bit of help, a little bit of motivation, and we need to strengthen our spirit so we can attain these goals and become successful. Now wait, before we get to the solution on how we can do that, let's delve a little bit deeper to kind of get an understanding of what we're struggling with. Many of you have probably set a goal to focus on the health. And let's say your goal is to have a lunch that contains just a salad. So it's time for lunch and there's this beautiful green salad in front of you. And your mind is telling you, looking at the salad, it's cold and it's cold outside. Something warm would be nice. Just even soup or pasta or pizza. So-and-so isn't keeping this diet. No one will tell. Just this time. Slowly your mind starts to trap you, convince you, and if not that day, soon enough you give in. Or how about this? You have that goal that you're going to wake up, you're going to go for a morning jog. You go to bed with that thought in your head that that's it. Tomorrow morning is time. I'm going to start running. I'm going to get fit. I'm going to get healthier. And when morning comes, your alarm clock is ringing. And what happens? Your mind says, it's too cold outside. It's raining. It's too early. It's still dark. How about we just start tomorrow? And you hit that snooze button over and over until you fall asleep, and there goes your goal out the window. These are the obstacles that we face. So we're going to bring a change this year because we're not going to let our mind keep dragging us back. We got to move forward. We got to elevate. And that is by strengthening the soul. And how are we going to do that? We're going to use the Bhagavad Gita. Now hold on a second. It is not a religious text. It is a way of life. This beautiful text that has 700 verses written in Sanskrit is well known to the famous people such as Carl Jung, Sunita Williams, Albert Einstein, and many, many others like Henry David Thoreau. And they all state that this text has been a guiding force in their lives. They refer to the Bhagavad Gita. So we're going to dive right in to figure out what is it that helped them change their lives around. Let's look at the character Arjuna. Arjuna faces so much grief, a lot of dejection and despair. He faces so much stress and tension because he's trying to come up with a solution. He's trying to decide, but thoughts are racing in and out, and he is unable to decide, which leaves him in great despair. But guess what? At the end, he does attain victory, and he becomes a great warrior. So let's reflect upon this. We also face a lot of adversities, situations that leave us stressed out, filled with anxiety. And it becomes so difficult to come up with a decision, and we're confused. So what do? Our outcome might be a little different than Arjuna's. And you know how? Because let's say that we were in Arjuna's situation and we're in the battlefield and all this stress is hitting us from all over. What do we decide to do? Well, take a break. It's time for a smoking break, a drinking break, some sort of break, because we just can't deal with it. And our coping mechanism is drugs and alcohol. Thank God Arjuna didn't go down that route. Otherwise, the unrighteous opponents would have won the war and the world would have been devastated, lives would have been destroyed, and it would just be chaos all over. So let's figure out what made Arjuna decide differently than us. Why didn't he cope the way that we cope? Well, let's understand by delving a little bit deeper into his situation. Let me take you to the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Here in the battlefield, on one side, there's hundreds of his opponents, and on the other, his team. And then in front of him, Lord Krishna himself, his friend. He looks at his friend, and Lord Krishna is saying that you must pick up your weapons and you must fight your opponents. And Arjuna is devastating hearing those words, because when he looks at his opponents, he sees those that he knows, that he respects, that he grew up with. Those that taught him so much and made him who he is. How can I fight against these opponents? This is not right. Lord Krishna and Arjuna go back and forth. And Lord Krishna is trying to make Arjuna understand that just as we change clothing, our soul, our spirit changes its physical forms and just sheds them off. That we are eternal. We are changeless. Nothing can destroy the Atma. It is everlasting. No weapon can cut it. But what does Arjuna do? Arjuna listens, but then 1,000 other thoughts come forward and he is questioning one after the other, until he is completely exhausted. Now, if we were in the situation of Arjuna, which we are many times, and it is time to make a crucial decision at that moment, we also need time. We also question several questions to get to the bottom of it, to come up with a proper solution or a proper conclusion. So how did Arjuna attain victory? Is that Arjuna decided to just surrender. Arjuna said to Lord Krishna, I will do exactly as you command me, because I have given up myself. You know what is right, because I lack that inner wisdom. You have that foresight, and I put my trust in you, because I know that your decision is for the welfare of all. So Arjuna picks up the weapon, goes, attains victory, and is known as a great warrior. Now, how do we do just that? How do we surrender to that divine intelligence? Let's understand from the beautiful illustration in the Bhagavad Gita with the 5 horses, the chariot, the driver. What does all of that depict? What is the deep meaning behind this illustration? This illustration is also in the Upanishads. And let's break it down. The 5 horses are our 5 sense organs: our sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. And then those 5 horses are held with the reins. The reins are held in Lord Krishna's hand. The reins is our mind. It's held in Lord Krishna's hand, which is the divine intelligence. And the chariot itself represents the body with Arjuna in it, which represents the ego. Are you with me so far? Let's try to understand this now, bit by bit. So the chariot, which has 2 identities, it has Lord Krishna and Arjuna. Lord Krishna represents divine intelligence, the intellect, and Arjuna represents the ego. Let's concentrate on Arjuna for a second. The ego is the I in us. Okay? I feel hot. I don't like mushrooms. I am a teacher. This I is the ego. The ego believes it controls the body. It belongs to the body belongs to the ego. And the ego loves the material world. So it pulls us and lets the horses run wild and experience this world. And Arjuna, when he was steering, what happened? Stress, tension, anxiety, depression, all of that we went through was because Arjuna was steering his life. But when Arjuna decided to surrender, take the back seat, and let Lord Krishna now hold the reins and steer his life, what happened? He attained victory. He became known as a great warrior. Because the Buddhi, which Lord Krishna represents, that takes you towards the divine. See, the word Buddhi is a Sanskrit word. So to actually translate that in English, it's pretty tricky, and you won't get the full meaning out of it. The closest we say is intellect. But let me go a little bit deeper. Buddhi is not only the place where all the past and present experiences are stored, but it is that inner wisdom. It is that divinity within that guides us. It is to be connected with the Lord, and that divine will then guide us forward, and that discrimination power, that judgment can never go wrong because it is in tune with the divine intelligence. And the Buddhi will not take you to the material world, but the journey is of the higher self. And it will take you up to evolve, to grow, versus the ego is the lower self. So this tug of war is always between the lower and the higher selves in this battlefield. So, in this body, we have these 2. We must give the steering wheel of our life to the Buddhi so we have a beautiful, smooth journey. So now you may question, well, how do I do that? How did Arjuna just surrender so easily after being so confused? And where is this divine intelligence, and how do I tap into it? And how do I just say take over? Because I would love to do that. Well, you know what? Let's go back to the battlefield with Lord Krishna and Arjuna. When they were going back and forth, Lord Krishna said, if you are done with your questions and I have cleared your doubts, I must tell you, for you to have that strength and the power to do what is right, it is not going to come with just theoretical knowledge, but you need that practical realization. You have to experience and know for yourself that we are eternal, that we are the Atma, that we never die, we're imperishable. And when you come to that realization, you yourself will pick up the weapons and fight for righteousness. So now it's time to stop this conversation, but I must bestow upon you that Vedic ancient technique of Brahm Gyan. Brahm means God and Gyan means knowledge. I must give you that knowledge of God so you see that light within yourself. That light, that divine light is you. That divine light is God within you, that intelligence, that supreme intelligence. So when Arjuna witnesses all of this, he says, it's like I'm blinded by thousands of suns. I see so much light. And at that time, without a doubt, he is able to do the right thing. So, answering your question, to let our Buddhi or the divine intelligence guide our lives, we must first experience that divine within. Lord Krishna said to Arjuna, "Na tu mam shakyase, drishtum mananev swe chakshusha, divyam dedami te chakshuhu pashyame yogmeshwaram." He said that you will not understand like this. I have to open that third eye so you can see who I am, what my real form is, and then you will be able to do what is right. And then all your doubts will vanish. And so, my dear brothers and sisters, viewers out there, I encourage you to think about life a little bit deeper. And if you really want to attain that success, it's time we unite with that divine intelligence and let that divine take us forward in our life so we can be at peace. And if you want to do just that, then I urge you to join us at Divine Light World. Check out our website, like and subscribe this video so you can attain more knowledge on how to transform your life. Happy New Year once again, and I hope you have a bright future. Thank you for tuning in.